Some might argue that I am not really into change. I've been at the same company, a predecessor company and the current company for close to 15 years. And so you might think, well, that guy does not like change. But the interesting thing about it is that I would say for many of those years, every year at my company and every job that I had and every function that I had was different. So there was one year where I worked at a startup and we were exploding. There was lots of growth, lots of hiring. The very next year, there was the first .com a bubble that burst. And so it was a completely different job. I went from signing lots of new customers to working on a lot of employment issues with new hiring to helping to keep the company afloat, to securing financing, those kinds of things. I think there were times when I thought, I better take my laptop because if I don't know if the doors are going to be open when we get back. And then there were years where we saw a turnaround and significant growth, and it led to an acquisition. And so those years, every one of those years was completely different. And now, and then after the acquisition, I worked for a Japanese company, and every one of those succeeding years was completely different until the last 2 years where we worked on tons of acquisitions. And so how do I feel about change? I feel like change is a great thing. You have to be prepared for it, and you have to be flexible. There is a level of uncertainty that happens in the corporate world, and you have to be cognizant of it and not worry too much about it, and know it's going to come and be prepared for when it happens. I try to consider myself the underdog during the day. And then I used to play basketball, and this guy I used to play with, he used to always say, if we were down a couple of points and we were playing like in a game, and then we started coming back, all of a sudden he would start whispering in people's ear, here we come, here we come. You would not believe how people respond to that. And it does motivate me. It gets me going for things that I don't want to do necessarily sometimes. And then it gets me motivated for things that I want to do. And that gets me through the day. And so in my mind, sometimes I try to think of myself as an underdog, and I'm like, here we come, here we come, here we come. I have conversations with people that are adults now about books that I'm reading now or read after law school, that they read in high school and they read in college. And I say to myself, why didn't anyone tell me about those books? And certainly if I wasn't reading them, I know students today in schools and in some public schools in the city and other places that don't have the resources or opportunities are not reading those books. And that's, at the very least, reading those kinds of books very young gives you the opportunity to engage people, that other people that have read those books and come from other walks of life, and create bonds and connections. And so I would certainly foster and advocate and participate in programs that encouraged reading and reading of the classics. And so I would love to do those kinds of things to change the world. Although those are probably more, again, local, but that's my world. So those are the things I'm thinking about.